Okay then, what did everyone think of The Sun Also Rises?
I loved it. He's so romantic.
Romantic? Hemingway? He was an abusive alcoholic misogynist who squandered half his life hanging around Picasso trying to nail his leftovers.
As opposed to a bitter, self-righteous hag who has no friends.
Pipe down, Chachi! I guess in this society being male and an asshole makes you worthy of our time. What about Sylvia Plath or Charlotte Bronte or Simone de Beauvoir? What did I miss? The oppressive patriarchal values that dictate our education. Hello. Very exciting video today because I'm doing something a little different. I am going to be reading like Cat Stratford from 10 Things I Hate About You, which is obviously an iconic movie. Absolutely love it. One of my favorites. You know, I've watched that movie millions of times, and I watched it, well, I rewatched it recently with Caitlin, and when I was watching it I was like, that could be a fun video to read the books that Kat mentions in 10 Things I Hate About You. And so this video idea was created. Although I did actually look it up and I have seen other people do this in the past, so I'm not like the original creator of this or anything, but I'm very excited. So yeah, I'm going to be reading 3 books and read like the queen herself. So the first is of course The Feminine Mystique, which appears in this scene.
Excuse me, have you seen The Feminine Mystique? I've lost my copy.
So I believe this is non-fiction and it was first published in the 60s, and it was a major inspiration for the women's movement, and it is a powerful and illuminating analysis of the position of women in Western society. So really excited to read this. I am a bit on the wary side because it was published in the 60s. Like, you know, I'm a bit apprehensive that it might be like white feminist vibes, but we'll obviously see. Obviously I will give you all my thoughts while I'm reading. And this book Kat doesn't actually specifically mention, but she mentions this author.
What about Sylvia Plath or Charlotte Bronte or Simone de Beauvoir?
So I'm going to be reading The Woman Destroyed by Simone de Beauvoir, and I've never read any books by her before, so I'm really excited, and this is the one I'm most excited about, so I thought I would read this one. And this basically has 3 stories about the decay of passion, which is something I'm very interested in. So it's about 3 women, all past their first youth. And the last one I'll be reading, probably the most iconic Cat book, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. And you actually see Kat reading this on the couch in her house. I am so excited because I've been meaning to read this for a while now. Caitlin actually told me that this is one of the classics that she recommends to me. So yeah, it's been on my radar and I'm so excited to finally be reading it. And actually, I've already started it. I've started the audiobook on Audible and I've only listened to a little bit. I think I've listened to like, you know, maybe a 1/6 of the audiobook, but really enjoying it. And Audible is sponsoring this video, which I just feel is perfect because I know Kat would enjoy listening to books and other like feminist podcasts and stuff on Audible. If you don't know Audible, I use them all the time. It's the best place to listen to whatever you're in the mood for. They have best-selling audiobooks in every genre. They have exclusive Audible originals, popular podcasts, and more. And it's all in one place, so you can download the app or use it on your computer or laptop or whatever. And it's all synced up, so if you're listening on your laptop, you can continue where you left off on your phone, and you can choose a speed at which you're listening to. It's just incredible. So like I said, I've started listening to The Bell Jar. I started it when I was getting ready, which is one of my favorite things to do. I love listening to audiobooks while I'm getting ready, and I am really loving this. I love the narrator. It also has some fun music at the end of like some chapters, and it's just so captivating. It usually takes me a while to get into a classic, but honestly, like from the beginning I was like, okay, yeah, I am interested. This is basically set in the 1950s and it follows Esther, who wins an internship at a New York fashion magazine, and she is so excited because she thinks this is her path to becoming a writer, which is her dream. But soon she finds herself in a depression and struggles to live in a society that is so misogynistic and refuses to take women's aspirations seriously. So honestly, you know, I'm all about that synopsis and I am loving what I've read so far. At the moment, I'm really connecting to the main character Esther and really loving the writing style. It is, like I said, super captivating, and the audiobook just makes it like a whole elevated experience. So yeah, really can't wait to finish that. So yeah, you can listen to The Bell Jar on Audible, but there are also so many other titles you can listen to. They have audiobooks in every genre. There are also a ton of exclusive Audible originals from top celebrity creators, renowned experts, and exciting new voices in audio. For example, the Sleep Sound podcast by Jamie Dornan. Amazing to listen to his voice while going to sleep. And basically, by being an Audible member, you can choose one title from their entire catalog to keep each month. And all Audible members get access to a growing selection of titles included in your membership. And this selection includes audiobooks, Audible originals, and podcasts, and more get added each month. So this makes your Audible membership even more valuable, and you can discover new favorites, discover new formats. And the Audible app makes it easy to listen anytime, anywhere. You can listen while you're doing chores, while you're working out, while you're going on a walk, while you're coloring in, you decide. So new members can try Audible free for 30 days. All you need to do is go to audible.com/bookswithchloe or text bookswithchloe to 500 500. So thank you so much to Audible for sponsoring this video and helping me live out my cat Stratford dreams. Yep, so these are the books. Very excited. So the plan now is to continue listening to the Bell Jar audiobook. I think I'm going to do some journaling while I do that, and then probably get into bed later and start physically reading The Feminine Mystique. Yeah, I will report back with all my thoughts. Okay, I was just trying to take the thumbnail because I wanted to recreate like reading the Bell Jar on the couch. So I brought this like seat up that I had from downstairs, and honestly it's a vibe. Like, maybe I should keep it here and just like have this as a reading chair, because it's so nice to be like next to my bookshelves and read, you know. It's like a fun moment. I love it. Also, I wanted to show you an example of how the main character is me.
I decided to take a hot bath. There must be quite a few things a hot bath won't cure, but I don't know many of them. Whenever I'm sad, I'm going to die, or so nervous I can't sleep, or in love with somebody I won't be seeing for a week. I slump down just so far, and then I say, I'll go take a hot bath.
I used to always say I was my happiest when I was in a bath, and unfortunately I don't have a bath in my place. When I lived at my mum's, she had a bath, so I would have a bath like all the time, and it was peak happiness. And I used to always include footage in my vlogs. Maybe I should just go to her house just to have a bath, you know, like truly peak bliss in the bath with the stunning bath bomb, with the bubbles, reading a book, wow, or listening to an audiobook. If you have a bath, really cherish it. I think because I'm here, I'm gonna actually get started on The Feminine Mystique. So I'm gonna start reading this now on my new chair, and then I will go to my desk and do some journaling while I listen to my audiobook. Maybe I'll even do some like coloring. That could be fun. The possibilities are endless.
So I went to my class dean with a clever plan.
Important update. There's a character called JC in the Bell Jar, and every time I hear it, I think of Shane from BuzzFeed Unsolved, that episode. I'll just insert the footage.
Checking this meter all over. Oh, go up by the cross, we get a little reading. Maybe that's our pal JC.
vague hour between dark and dawn, the sunroof of the Amazon was deserted.
Hello. Day 2 of reading Like Cat Stratford. I'm actually halfway through the bell jar now. I was listening to the audiobook while getting ready and doing some chores around the house, and I am still absolutely loving it. It's a super accessible classic to read, and listening to it definitely makes me realize why this is a classic. And yeah, it's incredible, and I can't wait to read Sylvia Plath's other works after this. This is actually her only novel, but I have some poetry that I've been wanting to read. But yeah, now I'm going to continue reading the Feminine Mystique. Oh, I didn't even tell you. I got up to page 24 last night. I really need to make some progress because I want to finish this by tomorrow. So I think my goal is to at least get to the halfway point by tonight. I'm on page 50 of the Feminine Mystique. Like I predicted, it's obviously feminism in the 1960s, because obviously that's when it was written. And it's just so interesting because obviously we've come so far with feminism. Still ways to go, but you know, we have come far, and it's just so wild to think that at the time this was published, ooh, not the camera moving, Frederick. It's so wild to think that at the time this was published, like, this could be considered like controversial, because it's literally just saying how so many women weren't satisfied just being the housewife, and they didn't know who they were, and they didn't really even know their personality because their whole life surrounded around helping others. So like, you know, raising their children, helping their husbands, but they didn't really have any time for themselves. And it says how a lot of people were just like, oh my god, like, relax, like, just accept your role, sort of thing. And it's just wild how society used to be like that. Like, I know obviously we know this, but like, I just can't even imagine. And thank God that we've moved past that. Okay, so I got to chapter 3, page 61. You know, like, I'm enjoying it, but it is a little dull because, you know, obviously it is quite outdated. Usually when I'm reading like a feminist text, I'm like, exactly, you know, and I'm like, you know, highlighting all these quotes and excited to share them, but it's not happening much of this because, you know, obviously I agree with like, women shouldn't be expected just to be housewives, but like, we've moved past that, so it's just not hitting as hard as it would back then, I'm sure. You know, it is a little, yeah, a little boring at times. So I think I'm going to take a break and actually start The Woman Destroyed, and I'll read this, well, these two like simultaneously. So yeah, I'm excited because I was definitely starting to get like, you know, so getting tired, I had to have a nap. But I'm really excited for this because, like I said, I haven't read anything by Simone de Beauvoir before, so I'm very intrigued. Hello, so need to give you some reading updates. I actually have like half an hour of the Bell Jar audiobook left, so I'm really near the end and I am really loving it. It is such an interesting read, and I feel like the fact that I'm reading it now is very timely because we see the main character Esther, you know, fall into a very deep depression, and she starts to feel very disconnected from the world, and just the way that she sees the world sometimes is very similar to how I can see the world, and it's honestly a little scary at times. And just recently I've felt quite disconnected from the world. Yeah, it's definitely a good time for me to read it, I feel, but also I would say if you're not in the best headspace, this probably isn't the book to read because it can be quite triggering, and yeah, it's definitely a bleak reading experience. But for me at this time, I can definitely find catharsis in reading bleak stories when I'm also kind of feeling like that, you know? So yeah, I'm really, really loving it, and yeah, really close to the end. Esther's also a really interesting main character because I think some people would like describe her as unlikable, which I don't really like using that term because I feel like it's so subjective, and you know, especially with women, I feel like the term unlikable is used more often. But she definitely makes some questionable choices in order to like feel something because she's struggling so much with her depression. But yeah, I can definitely see why this is a Cat Stratford book. Then with The Feminine Mystique, I'm on page 61, so I got up to chapter 3. I think I've decided I'm not going to continue because I think I mentioned in the beginning I was a bit nervous that this was going to be like white feminist vibes, and at the moment it definitely is, and obviously that could change, but I looked up some reviews and articles and, you know, did some research, and it seems like, you know, the main main criticism is the fact that this focuses on the issues of like white, middle and upper class women, their struggles, and excludes any talk of like race and sexuality, and it just doesn't seem like it's very intersectional. And this is a very dense book, like I said. The font is really small. I actually looked up some reviews. Some people said it took them like a month to read because it's so dense, and no offense, I don't want to spend this time reading a white feminist book when I should be reading more current intersectional feminist works. So, you know, it is interesting. Like, I'm happy that I read what I read, and it's interesting to have done more research on this book. And obviously this was an iconic book for like the feminist movement, I guess, but yeah, I'm a big fan of DNFing, you know, and the thought of continuing this doesn't make me excited. So I understand why it was popular for its time, you know, in the 60s, but definitely outdated. I've also made some more progress with The Woman Destroyed. I'm on page 48. I wouldn't say I'm loving this. I guess I'm kind of enjoying it, but I'm also a little bored. But I do plan to finish this today, actually. So yep, that's what I'm gonna do. Hopefully, you know, I get more invested. Hey, very exciting update. I have been reading. I decided to do a Twitch stream and it was absolutely stunning. So I did some reading with everyone there. I literally started the stream out saying how, you know, I was kind of bored reading this. Literally the first page that I read, there were like 3 stunning quotes on the page and I was like, oh. And then I finished the first story. Incredible. Like, I actually had a lot of like whoa moments and some doggy moments, which are for like scenes / quotes that I just absolutely love. Apologies, I had a phone call, but yes, I think I was saying that I'm loving it now. So yes, I finished the first story. Wow, like incredible. Honestly, there were times that felt a bit too real and spoke to my soul too much. Like, do you ever like read a book and you're just like, hang on, get out of my brain? That's how it felt, because the way that the main character in The Woman Destroyed constantly questions everything, like that's me. And the specific questions she's asking about the world, like literally me. And it's really interesting as well because the discussions on like aging and the fear of aging specifically for women, which is obviously a huge issue in our society. And I really, really loved the way that it was talked about in The Woman Destroyed. And the ending, wow. For example, someone tells her, "You are so young." People often tell me that and I feel flattered. All at once the remark irritated me. It is an equivocal compliment and one that foretells a disagreeable future. Remaining young means retaining lively energy, cheerfulness and vitality of mind. So the fate of old age is the dull daily round, gloom and dotage. And honestly, it's sad that this was published a while ago. I'll try to put the year here, and I feel like we haven't really made any progress with, well, maybe a little bit, but limited progress in the fear of aging. People still think like once 25 like you're old or something. Like, also there's so much beauty in being old. Actually, a really stunning quote as well. It's pleasant to have a long past behind one. It gives depth to the present. I can't see what you lose in growing old. Youth. Youth is not in itself a valuable thing. Anyway, absolutely loved it. So really exciting. And now I'm on to the second story, which is, oh my god, I just realized I was calling the first story The Woman Destroyed. The first story is called The Age of Discretion. The second story is called The Monologue. So I'm up to the monologue. Oh, the third story is The Woman Destroyed. Apologies. Anyway, so yeah, up to the monologue now. Very different writing style, very unique, and I'm not fully vibing with it yet, but maybe like the first story, it's gonna take some time for me to like fully get into it. But yes, it's a very bleak vibe, which is perfect for my side girl hours. So I'm really connecting to it. Like, this is really speaking to my soul. How exciting. This woman is so dramatic. I love it. Wind. It suddenly started to blow like fury. How I should like an enormous disaster that would sweep everything away, and me with it. A typhoon, a cyclone. It would be restful to die if there were no one left to think about me. Give up my body, my poor little life to them? No. But for everybody to plunge into nothingness, that would be fine. Okay, so I finished reading this second story. Very interesting. It had a very different tone to the first one. The main character was very, very angry at the world. And honestly, it kind of read like a comedy at times, because the main character was just, I can't even remember her name. I don't even know if her name was revealed actually, but she was so dramatic and there were some really funny lines because of that, but there were also some lines that I was like, eh. Overall, very, you know, entertaining and interesting and funny at times, like I said. So 3 out of 5 stars for that one. Hello, so I finished The Bell Jar. Absolutely loved it. Like I said before, definitely a very bleak story. Deals with depression, suicide. I adored it. I loved the writing. I really related to the main character, and it's just so interesting to like look more into it as well, because it's very reflective of Sylvia Plath's own personal mental health struggles. So yeah, I'm really happy that I read it finally and loved the audiobook. Like I said, highly recommend it. The narrator did an amazing job and it was just so captivating the entire time. So I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. And then I also finished The Woman Destroyed by Simone de Beauvoir. So I finished the last story, and I think the last story is kind of like 3.5 vibes. I was so bored in the beginning. Like, it took a while for me to get into the story, but then near the end I was like, wow, okay, yeah. And you know, all of these stories were just so interesting in their own ways. My favorite was definitely the first one. So it's kind of hard to rate this book because there are some parts of this book that are like, wow, incredible, like blow my mind, but then there are some parts that I was literally bored out of my mind. But overall, I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars because like the parts that blew my mind really did blow my mind, and I really enjoyed a lot of the messages and the quotes and stuff. So had a really good time reading this, and yeah, I'm really happy that I read it. So before I wrap up this video, I thought I would end it by recommending some books, like some more contemporary books that I feel like Kat Stratford would love today. Instead of The Feminine Mystique, a more updated, contemporary, intersectional feminist book I recommend is Hood Feminism. This is an incredible and captivating, not boring, non-fiction feminist book, and it's definitely very intersectional and, you know, talks about race and sexuality and how all of that comes into play. And I listened to that on Audible, and that was definitely an incredible audiobook too. Then I just know that Kat would love Gone Girl. Iconic book, Girl Boss Amy Dunn. We know that Kat would be reading for The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I know Kat would love this. It's just such an incredible feminist book, very women empowering, discusses lots of important issues, including feminism, sexuality, the cost of fame, just so many different things that I just know that Kat would love. Bunny, I feel like Kat would be all about this. I don't like to give too much of the synopsis away, but it's definitely very women focused. It's psychological horror vibes. So much fun. I just know in my heart that Kat would be a Bunny stan. Also, it's one of those books that is very polarizing, so some people hate this book, some people love it, and I feel like Kat is also, you know, one of those people that is quite polarizing and not everyone likes her. And we know that Kat loves her poetry, so this isn't really poetry, but it's definitely written in a very poetic way. This is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I know she'd love him, and this is such a beautiful story between an immigrant son and his mother. And I also think she would really like the Women Are Some Kind of Magic poetry series by Amanda Lovelace. So there are 3. So we have The Princess Saves Herself in this one, The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one, and The Mermaid's Voice Returns in this one. Very feminist, amazing words. Yeah, so I had so much fun filming this video. I would love to do more. If you have any like recommendations of other videos like similar to this I should do, please let me know. But yeah, honestly, so much fun. So I really hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you so much once again to Audible for sponsoring this video. Don't forget, new members can try it free for 30 days by going to audible.com/bookswithchloe or texting bookswithchloe to 500 500. If you're looking for more content from me, I have a Patreon where I upload extra content like extra reading vlogs, we do a monthly live show, we do a monthly buddy read, etc. I have all my other socials linked in my description, as well as my Twitch, which is twitch.tv/GoWithChloe, and that is where I stream games and just chatting. So yeah, thanks so much for watching this video. Thanks for being amazing as always, and hope you're having a good day or night. I will hopefully see you in my next video.